Hey, it's Prerak, and this is everything that you should look for when buying a used car. In today's car market, new cars just don't make financial sense in my opinion. And if you're looking for a used car in the budget of 5 to 6 lakhs, there are no options except this. Based on a preference, you can choose your car. These days, hatchbacks are just non-existent. Sedans and SUVs rule the market. If you're looking for a family daily driver, then a crossover is for you. Crossover is basically a crossover between hatchback and an SUV. So it's basically the middle child. But sedans are my preference. So let's say you found your preferred car on sale and now you're going to inspect it. What are the few things that you should look for when you're inspecting it? Well, there are about 4 things that you should look for, and we'll talk about all 4 of them in reverse order. So number 1 is the most important. But let's begin with number 4. Number 4 is bodywork. Now I'm not saying that go for a bashed up car. Obviously not. It should be structurally sound. But small dings and scratches shouldn't throw you off. But how do you inspect for structural damage? Let me show you. If you have ever witnessed an accident, what is the most common part of the car that gets hit? It's the front. Usually people just bash into cars, or sometimes they get hit from the rear. So these are the 2 places where you should look for structural damage to the chassis. Let me show you an example. In this car, we can clearly see that this area was damaged and it is repaired because they didn't paint over it very well. Another giveaway that these parts have been opened is the fact that the nuts on it have lost paint, which means that they have been worked on. While it may be difficult to inspect, but you can check for further structural damage through the chassis legs. If the car has been hit severely from the front, the chassis legs get bent, and most workshops repair it, even though they should not. But it happens. If they are repaired, the color won't match with the rest of the vehicle. The color inside of the engine bay is always distinctively different from the rest of the car, and the chassis legs are no different. So if they look like they have been freshly painted, worked on, welded, skip the car, because that much structural damage to the chassis legs is not good. While the damage I showed you on this car is barely anything. It seems like it has been hit from this side and the body behind the fender was slightly damaged and pulled back. So this is not that severe, but if there was something more severe like the chassis legs or anything inside the engine bay, I would recommend this owner to skip it. Another telltale sign is the difference in the paint between the body panels. If you focus on this bonnet, you will realize that it has been painted, and that does match with our theory that this car must have been hit from this side and the bonnet had to be painted, including this fender. You can notice that the shine on this panel doesn't match with the rest of the car because it just cannot match it. Because when the car is painted at factory, it is done in one batch, and anytime later if a separate panel is painted, it can never match the finish. Moving on to the second most common hit part of a car, the rear end. To check that, open the boot lid, check all of these edges. There are pinch welds here which should be in great condition. There is also seam sealer which should not be tampered. If that's not tampered, you're good to go, but this is still a pretty high point in the car. Chances are that it was hit at the bottom. So to check that, pick up this trim and look on the inside. Are there any dents? Are there any crimps? If not, you're in the clear. While the front and back are most common, accidents happen in all forms of ways. If your car is hit from the quarter panel or from the side, this entire quarter panel gets replaced. But how do you know if it has been replaced or not? Number 1, the paint will vary. Number 2, if the paint does not vary, how do you know? Open the rear door. Grab this rubber beading and pull on it. And that will reveal the pinch welds. If these pinch welds are clean and the paint doesn't look like it has been repainted, good for you. The part has not been replaced. But that does not exactly mean that the quarter panel must not have ever been replaced, because most of the times they do not open it from the pinch welds. They just cut it in sections and replace it. So how do you know if it has been replaced or not? Well, there is a third way to know. Come closer. Mostly a cut is made through the door sill. So if there's any paint difference in the door sill or it looks like the door sill has been painted, there is a slight chance that the quarter panel must have been replaced. But in this car, it all seems good. There is just some paint difference with the rocker panel. Maybe this was hit and repainted. While we have covered most of the major parts and panels of the car, there is another important part, and that is the windshield. The windshield has a lot of stories to tell. If it has been shattered, there may be quite a big accident or just a stone chip. So you never really know. But it is vital to know if it is original or not. And the way to know is on the other side of the windshield. Right here, there are a lot of details about the windshield. If it has a Volkswagen logo, because this is a Volkswagen Vento, then it means it is probably original from factory. And there are a lot of letters which decipher a lot of things. But what we're looking for is the date. Now it has 15 and 3 dots. So it means that this windshield is from 2015, which is a good thing because the car is a 2015. Now every manufacturer has a different way of writing these codes. So do your own research before you go to inspect the car. Well, that is the visual inspection done. And that was number 4 on our priority. Unless it is structural, obviously. Let's move on to number 3. Maintenance parts. Maintenance parts tell you a lot about the car, how well it is being maintained, how much it is loved. For example, look for tires, brakes, how good does it look under the bonnet, how well has the interior been kept. Not only will it help you in the future, but it will help you bargain in that situation. Let's begin with tires. That will tell you the entire story of how the car is being kept. First of all, look if they are dry rotted. If they are probably old. But how do you tell how old are they? Well, there is always a 4-digit number on the tires. In this case, it says 3719, which means 37th week of 2019, which was 6 years ago. The life of the tire is not more than 4 to 5 years. So these are due for replacement, and that tells us that this car may not have been kept all that well. Another thing to look for is the tread wear on the tire. Turn the wheel outside and check how much tread depth it has. Now while it may look like this tire has enough tread depth left, but look at how dry it is. So it is pretty much useless. You can refer to these tire wear indicators to see how much depth is left in them. While this tire looks like it has a good amount of life left, but it is entirely dry rotted, so it's of no use. Now what does this mean for you as a buyer standpoint? Well, you can negotiate with the owner of the car about this, that you will have to spend 40 to 50,000 rupees on tires. So you can get that rate cut from the asking price of the vehicle. Now while the steering is cut, use this to your advantage. Look inside. How does that suspension look? Is it dry or is it leaking? How do those axles look? Are they fine or is the boot torn apart? How does the brake look? Does the rotor have a lip on it? Do the pads have any life left? You use all of these things against the owner and try to bargain on all of these points. But peeping into the wheel well only tells you half the story. Best is to take your car to a local FNG, get it on a lift, get the underbody entirely inspected, check for suspension wear. That will tell you the entire story of how well the car has been maintained. Another place where you can tell if the car has been maintained well or not is the engine bay. Check for any oil spills, coolant spills or stuff like that. Check for any irregularities. Check if the correct coolant has been used or not, which will tell you if it has gone to a Volkswagen expert, a Volkswagen dealership or just a random FNG. Another thing to look for is the intake housing. Is it clean? Has it been serviced recently? While you cannot tell that from the outside, but still you can get a pretty good idea. There could be leakages on that particular engine, like this 1.5 TDI leaks from this pump here, but this looks pretty clean. Check for the battery. Is it new or is it really old? The thing is, batteries are not cheap, and if it is an old one, you should install a new one as soon as you buy it. So use this against the seller and negotiate. Next up, move on to the interior of the car. Check for any damages, check for stains, check for wear, especially on the steering wheel. If the steering wheel has excessive wear, it will tell you a lot about how much the car is driven and if they are lying about it or not. If it has cuts inside of it, it will tell you that there might have been accessories installed like those tiny donuts that you install on the steering wheel so it moves quicker. It will tell you a lot about that. So it will tell you about some history of the car and how it was driven. Another thing to look for are missing buttons like this. This knob is just missing, and this is the knob which should be in this place, and the volume knob is nowhere to be found, which tells you that the driver might have been a little rough with this car. And the proof only gets stronger because even the boot open button is broken on this car. Now another thing to notice here is these vents are totally fine and they often break out on Polos, Ventos and Rapids. So that is a good sign. Maybe this car was taken care of after all. Another thing to look for inside of the interior is the wear on the seats. That will tell you if it was driven by a driver or where the passengers used to sit inside of the car. For example, in this car, this seat is the most worn down. Other seats are barely worn in, which tells me that only one person used to drive this car. And check if the headliner is sagging or not. Well, we have looked at maintenance parts. We know what is replaced and what isn't. But now let's look for some proof. Let's look at maintenance records. Maintenance records are number 2 on our priority because that should be a deal breaker if the car does not have any records at the dealership. So check the number of the car, call the particular dealership and ask them, when was the last time this number was inside of your service center? That will tell you two things. When was the last time it was there, which means when was the last time it was on record. And if the owner is being honest about the odometer reading. I cannot tell you the amount of instances that I have heard of where the odometer has been dialed back way further than the last time the car was at the dealership. If the car has the record at 110,000 kilometers, the car is sitting at 80,000 kilometers. So I would recommend just give a quick call to the dealer, tell them that you're trying to purchase a car and that is its number. And they will tell you a little bit about its history. They cannot reveal all the secrets of it, but they will tell you enough to know if the odometer has been tampered or not. Always prioritize the car which has better maintenance records than the one which does not. But obviously maintenance records don't tell you the entire story. So if this car was at the dealership last in 2019 at 74,000 kilometers and it is still sitting at 74,000 kilometers, it is obvious that the meter has been tampered with. But let's just say that it has not been tampered with and the car is right now at 100,000 kilometers. So for those 26,000 kilometers, it has been serviced outside of Volkswagen or outside of records. So you don't know if it has been serviced, if it has not been serviced, if it has been taken care of or not. So always go for a car with full maintenance records. But as I said, maintenance records don't tell you the full story. Maybe the car went to Volkswagen every year and just got a basic service done. But when it came time for a full major service, maybe they skimmed on it. Or they never got the tires changed. Or they never got the brake pads changed. So even if it is on record, it doesn't mean that it has been maintained well. It is for you to check if it has been maintained well or not. Moving on from maintenance records, let's move on to our number 1 priority. That is documentation. Now under documentation, there are a lot of things to look for. First of all, registration certificate, that is the RC of the vehicle. Number 2, insurance. Now what you need to check on both of these things is if the car is under a loan or not. Is it in the bank's name or the owner's name? Another thing to check is the serial number of owners. Is it first owner, second owner, third owner? Because that greatly reduces the value of the car if it is more than 2 owners up. Your first priority should be to get a first owner car, that is a single owner car and it has been maintained by the same owner. If a dealer tells you that the car is second owner because it has been transferred within family, that is mostly a made up story. So don't fall for that unless you really know the previous owners. But know that if you are buying a second owner car, you will become the third owner. And at that point, when you become the third owner, the value of the car is entirely lost, unfortunately. Unless it is a very old car. And at that point, it just doesn't matter. Another thing which is mentioned on the RC of the car is the chassis number and the engine number. The chassis number is stamped onto the car in 3 different locations. Whatever car you're going to inspect, check what those locations are and make sure they're all the same. Make sure the chassis number matches with the engine number. Now the engine number may be a little hard to find or a little hard to access, but make sure it is the same. That will tell you a lot about the history of the car. Now let's move on to insurance, which is another documentation for your car. Make sure that the name on the insurance matches the name on the registration certificate. If it does not, maybe the car had been sold or they didn't transfer the RC, but they did transfer the name on the insurance. There could be a lot of mismatches. So make sure that both the names match. Also look for what type of insurance the car has. Is it bumper to bumper, comprehensive, third party? Because if it is a third party insurance, you won't get any claim in an accident. Only the third party, the person you have hit, will get the insurance. Look for IDV of the vehicle, which is the insurance declared value. If it is less than the asking price of the vehicle, make sure to use that to bargain your way out of it. There are a lot of insurance policies and there are a lot of clauses under them. So make sure to get that insurance policy checked by someone who knows about them. Another thing to get checked is if the car had any claims on that insurance. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that all the work done on the car would be under insurance, because most people get their car repaired after an accident on cash. So it doesn't reflect on the insurance. So you won't really know the true history of the car, but it'll tell you some idea of it. Now last point on documentation is the number. If you buy the car, you are going to get it registered to your name. That is an additional cost. Try to factor that in when you are going to purchase the car. For example, this car is HR26. HR means Haryana. 26 means the 26th district, which is Gurgaon. So HR26 means Gurgaon. If you have a residential proof in HR in Haryana, you won't have to get the entire number changed. You can retain this entire number and have the car transferred onto your name. But let's just say you do not have a Haryana residential proof. What do? If you take this car to Chandigarh, you might have to get it registered inside Chandigarh. That is additional cost. Do factor that in. Don't miss out on this. Add it to the capital price of the car. Now based on the state that you're trying to register the car to, the prices may vary. In our case, Haryana, Chandigarh and Punjab. These are the neighboring states. Punjab is the most expensive. Haryana is reasonable and Chandigarh is the least expensive and the most desirable number. Throughout India, a CH number plate is the most desirable. So that makes the most sense, but you are spending money on it. So whichever state you live in, do factor in that cost of registration and read the laws to know what exact cost that will add up to. Alright then, does it all check out? Do you think the car is worth buying? If yes, then let's take it out on a test drive now. Okay then, we are on the drive. What all should you check? First of all, check all the basic features. Does the AC blow cold air? And with high temperature, does it blow hot air? Once that is checked, check if it blows air through all the vents A to Z. It is a common problem for the Polo Vento Rapids to stop blowing air from the middle vents. So make sure that is working. Then just take a feel for the car. Do the gears feel good? Do the brakes feel good? How does the suspension feel? Does it make any unusual noises? Beat the car up just a little bit, not too much, just to take a feel of the turbo and the power delivery. Don't redline it, but it all seems good. Take it through some minor potholes and check for any suspension noise. Is there any? Because that is maintenance work. Seems good so far. Take it for a good 5 to 10 kilometer drive. Take a good feel for the car. Once you're done, stop it on the side of the road, leave it idle and feel for vibrations. That will tell you if the car is asking for mounts. There is really minimal vibration here. The mounts seem good. It is a diesel car, so those minimal vibrations, there is gonna be there. When you start it from the standstill, the engine shouldn't rock. That will tell you that it's asking for the lower dog bone mount. But this car seems pretty solid. When you're pulling the car, Notice if it shifts sides, or when you're braking from high speed, does it shift from side to side? If it does, it can tell you about alignment issues or bad brake job issues or bad axles or anything of that sort, even tires. So make note of these tiny things as well during the drive. If the car is manual, also check for clutch travel. How high up do you have to pick up the clutch to make the car move? That will tell you about the life of its clutch. And if it is an automatic, check for any clunks or delays in gear shifts. That will tell you about the condition of the transmission. Okay, has it all checked out again? Did the drive go well? If it did, it's time to check for all electronic features of the car. Do the mirrors fold? Do the speakers work? Do all the lights work? Do all the light switches work? Check every knob, check every button and see if it all works well or not. So after using everything that I've told you in this video, make an estimation of the expenses that you're about to spend in the repairs of this car. Tell that to the seller and make sure to find a good deal where it doesn't harm any of you. Once that's done, make the payment, not fully. Don't make the entire payment just yet. Hold some amount of payment till the time the registration paperwork is halfway finalized. Because if you make the entire payment and the seller vanishes, you're stuck with a car you cannot register. Don't do that. So, I hope you use all of those tips and make a good decision. So you finally bought that car. Congratulations. But what is the first thing that you should do as soon as you've purchased it? That's service. But why is service the first thing that you should do to your car? What if the car was serviced well? What if it was serviced at the dealership? Well, people can lie and records can be manipulated. So it is necessary that you do one major service when you get the car. So you can start the clock of maintenance all over again. This way, the future services and maintenance items will be replaced on time. So let's begin the major service for this car. In this service, we will be replacing the engine oil, the diesel filter. What is this? The oil filter. Obviously, we need to flush its coolant because this is the wrong coolant in the car. We will use an engine flush as well to flush out the old engine oil. And we will be using one bottle of triple shot in its fuel tank because the injectors are making a little bit of a noise. This will make it run a little smoother. We will also be servicing the brakes of this car because the stock rotors are completely done for, and even the pads are of no use now because the rotors are gone. So these are new rotors and we have new pads as well. Alright, let's begin the service now. Let's jack up the car, take the wheels out, take the brakes out, take the oil out, take the coolant out. Let's begin. The car is so high on the stock suspension that I have to increase the height so much because look, the wheels are barely off the ground. This is the bigger jack stand that I got made for the Laura. I think it is too big for the Vento, but let's see. Yeah, it's too tall. I guess we can place the jack stands here. Works. The car is now safely jacked up. Now we can start working on it. Alright, before we drain the oil, we need to add this engine flush. Now it says here to keep the engine running for 15 minutes after we have put in. So we'll run the engine for 10 to 15 minutes and then drain the oil. Alright, let's start the car now. Alright, it has been a little over 15 minutes. Let's shut the car now. It's time to drain the oil now. The bolt was very hot. Ouch. The oil is pretty black. It has been a while since it is serviced. I think this can drip out oil. I'm opening the intercooler pipe, so I should keep the pan here. So I'll put the drain bolt back in and shift the pan to this. Alright, the intercooler pipe is out of the way, the fan connector is out of the way. We can remove the coolant pipe now. It can create a bit of a mess. Let's see. Already. The coolant is supposed to be pink. In this car it was green. But now as it turns out, it is water and green which has turned black. It's black now and it's literally water. It doesn't have the consistency of coolant. Okay, the coolant has now drained. Before we fill anything into this car, engine oil or the coolant, let's address these brakes because these are done for. So with an 18 mm socket, we can open its carrier. With these two bolts removed, we can pull it out, but because there is a lip on this disc, the pads are preventing it from coming out. So what I'll do is, I'll open this bleed nipple and compress the piston in using this DIY bottle. I'm just using a normal silicone pipe. There is a big hole in the cap and a tiny one to let some air out. I fill the bottle with just a little bit with brake fluid and I submerge this pipe down into the brake fluid so it doesn't pull back air. If it does pull anything back, it is just brake fluid. With an 11 mm spanner, let's open the bleed nipple. Now I've compressed it enough that I can just pull it out. And don't leave this hanging on its pipe, it can damage it. With the caliper out of the way, we can open this retaining bolt and remove the disc. And obviously, it is stuck on there. Finally, new rotor. Before you put the new rotor on, we will clean this area with a metal wire brush. Anti-seize is recommended to be applied here, but I cannot find it in my workshop right now. Obviously, when you need something, you cannot find it. So it's fine. We'll clean this and put the new rotor on so it doesn't get bolted onto a rusty hub. Let's put these on now. Now let's put the caliper back in and then we can change the brake pads. Look at the difference between the new and the old. So we'll remove this guide and install this one. So there is an inside and outside of the pads. The ones which have these rivets in the middle go on the outside, and the ones which have rivets far apart go on the inside. So after removing a little bit more of the brake fluid, the entire piston is now compressed and can be installed. And we'll use new brake hardware as well. We will replace the oil filter now. Let's open its cap. Alright, now we'll replace the diesel filter. One pipe, second pipe out. Now it's time for the diesel filter to come out. And it's out. Okay, let's play a game. This filter has not been opened yet. What are the chances it is the correct one? Because so far, like in the previous videos with the LoRa and stuff, nothing has worked out in my favor. Let's see. Oh, it is the same. Now we cannot just put this line in. We have to prime this fuel filter. Once it's filled, we can put this back in. Now the only filter left is the air filter, and then we can fill the oil, fill the coolant, and then drive the car. Much better. A little better than before. All the filters on the outside are done. For the inside cabin, air filter is left. But it's time to put oil and coolant in finally. So we'll fill it first with water, and then later on we'll drain it from this pipe and add the G12 coolant. So we've topped off the coolant with water right now. We'll leave the cap open, run the engine for a while, let the system bleed out, and then take all the coolant out from this pipe and fill the pink coolant in. So now that is everything done, let's take it out on the road, finally bed the brakes in and see how it drives. Alright, now after the service, in order to bed the brand new brakes and rotors, we have to take it up to 60 or 80 and then slowly bring it down to 20, like so. We're almost at 60, we will slowly brake down to 20. And then we'll do it a couple of times and we'll increase the intensity of the pressure with each pass. And it is important not to come to a complete stop because that can create a heat spot on our brand new rotor. We do not want that. Alright then, let's wrap up the video here. The car feels really well after the service. The engine oil has done great wonders to this car. I feel like it was above 2 years that it wasn't serviced with the way everything was inside of the engine bay. The car feels a lot freer now with that new air filter as well and the new diesel filter. It is performing much better, the brakes are much better. Earlier it used to wobble under braking, but now it stops straight as an arrow without any wobble. So I feel like this car is good for another 1 year or 15,000 kilometers for a service, and based on the rest of the maintenance that we have done, it's good for many years to come. And it is a good decision that my friend purchased this car. And yeah, that's all for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful for you, and I'll see you next week.